Today we're gonna remake Tears by Sabrina Carpenter and it's gonna sound like this. Alright guys, my name is Badhabit. Today we're gonna break down and remake Tears by Sabrina Carpenter, one of my favorite songs of 2025 so far. The day it came out, I listened to it and I think I played it 20 times in a row, and no, I'm not kidding. But what's making this song so special and so addictive? The production might sound simple, right? Like there's not too many elements, but I can assure you it's not. The song has been produced by John Ryan, which is in my top 3 favorite writers and producers. He did all the One Direction stuff together with Julian Bunetta, the producer of Espresso. Coincidence? Of course not. And you will notice throughout this breakdown that the two songs actually share some hidden techniques that they squeeze in there without you even noticing. But no worries, we're gonna go through all of them so you can use them too in your own productions and upgrade them from average to pro. So let's dive into this. We're gonna start from the drums because all of the other instruments that we're gonna play are very rhythmic. Think of that funky guitar, the piano, the bass line. And so to get that groove right, I wanna play all of these instruments on top of the drums. We need to make some disco-ish drums similar to what we've done for Espresso, but this song sounds a little bit more 70s, so the drums are not as aggressive, as punchy, and they have a little bit more of a live feeling. So keeping that in mind, I'm gonna try a blend of addictive drums and some samples that sound a little bit more modern and punchy. And for a song like this, I think it's very important to play it in. It has to sound like a live drummer, you know? It can't be perfect. It can be exactly on the grid. I can also try and play it with Machine. I played it a bunch of times, and as you can see, it's not perfectly on the grid. This snare is a little bit early, this kick is slightly late, but I kind of like how it feels. Some of them may sound a little bit too off, so let's fix them. So like this one, this is a little bit early. Better, yeah. And now for the sound, we can go here and tweak. I want more compression in this, a little bit of distortion, more attack, and maybe pitch it up a little bit. Yeah, and so now that we have these drums that feel and sound like they've been played live, now I'm gonna find a kick sample that I can layer on top of this one, which sounds a little bit too weak for modern music. I remember there's a folder here, 70s and 80s kicks. Probably need something like this. Okay, I like this one, but instead of doing this in audio, why don't I use MIDI also for this one? So this way I can just copy the MIDI from the kick so that I can preserve not only the same velocities and have the same feeling, but also the timing. I don't want the kick to be flamming. I need to be them perfectly aligned with each other, even if they're not exactly on the grid. Yeah, and I applied a little bit of processing to this kick, especially coming from this saturation knob. But with it, listen to what it does, especially in the low end. I love this plugin. It's a free plugin, so you gotta get it, guys. And by the way, all of the plugins that I'm using in this video are linked down in the description. Let me see if we can actually find a snare to layer on top of this. Oh yeah, it's adding definitely a lot of body to the snare. Same thing, I just put it in a drum rack so that I have it in MIDI. I can use the same MIDI. I don't know if you guys have noticed, on top of the snare, there are definitely some claps layered. Interesting. Interesting. I selected 3, I put them in, this one and these ones. I haven't played these in, I just designed the MIDI with the mouse, and as you can see now, they're perfectly on the grid. But the purpose of these claps is exactly creating some flamming. And so now I want to spend a little bit of time making sure that none of these is perfectly on the grid. Pretty cool. And I'm gonna do the same thing for all of these ones, and I want them to be all different. So I'm gonna like build a loop of 8 bars, and each clap is gonna sound a little bit different than the one before. These 2 claps, I decided to pan one to the left and one to the right. There is one plugin that I love to use when I wanna enhance this effect even more, without it and with it. Definitely wider. The only thing that we're missing here are a bunch of hi-hats playing 16th notes, something like and so for the hi-hats to feel as real as possible, I don't want to play them in with the keyboard, but I actually want to use one of these patterns that have been played by real drummers. It's pretty cool. But there's actually one other plugin that I don't think I've ever showed you on the channel, actually. And I like to use it sometimes when I have a pattern like this one that I like to replace the samples with different sounds. This is a very old plugin, so I'm not even sure you guys have ever seen this before. This is a very old plugin, you can tell from the interface, but this is from Spectrasonics, the same people that make Omnisphere. Okay, so something like that. And if we don't like this hi-hat, we can definitely go here and we have a bunch of other sounds that we can choose. Oh yeah, I think this is the sweet spot. I think in general, when in 2025 you want to make some music that sounds like, I don't know, the 70s, the 80s, the sweet spot is finding some of these modern samples and blending them with something that sounds a little bit older, blending some of the technology that we have today, like the modern samples, with the techniques that they were using back then, so like real drums. And now I gotta find like a bunch of shaker loops, a bunch of tambourine loops, and now I have this. And I don't know why, maybe like you're wondering, couldn't you do it with 1 or 2 samples? Maybe, I don't know, but I just kept adding and I like the way this was sounding. But one important thing that I want to show you guys is that I've used LFO Tool to improve a little bit the feeling of these tambourines and shakers and to improve some of the accents. These are loops, so each one of them has been played with a slightly different intention. And so using LFO Tool on the whole group is making sure that all of these are going through the same pattern, the same intention. We need these kind of dynamics for the pocket to be right. Okay, so we have these drums. They're sounding really, really good. There are just a couple more things that we're going to add later in the video, like the cymbals, a couple of tom fills and stuff like that. And also we're going to go back to the drums at the very end of the video for the drum bus processing, because I'm going to need to have all of the other instruments to do that properly. So now we can start playing all of these other instruments. And the song starts with the piano playing the chords in the intro. So I think this is the right time to show you the actual chords of the song. So these are the chords that you hear in the intro and in the chorus. So basically we have this G minor 7 followed by A minor 7 followed by this D minor 9. But then when we go into the verse, something is changing. Actually, the key is changing. And so in the verse, the chords become these. And these chords immediately bring the song back to the disco era. What's special about these chords is that we have the F in the bass, F minor 7, no? But then we switch to this B flat, which instead of being played like this, is played like this. But the bass doesn't change. So we keep this F in the bass, you know? And so this is very, very cool. And to go from the chords of the chorus to the chorus of the verse in a smooth way, what happens is this. So they quickly go through this D minor, E minor, F minor. So that's what's happening. Very cool way of changing key in a super smooth way. All right, let's try it. See, it's all about the feeling here. And these chords that we're playing with the piano are the main chords. But you'll see later that something different actually happens to the chords when it comes to other instruments. And we're gonna see that in a minute. So I finally played one that I liked, but then I also tweaked it. I made some of these notes a little bit longer. But one thing that I want you guys to notice is that I haven't quantized what I played. The only thing that I had to do for this chord, for example, this was a little bit too off. It was like something like that. I selected all the notes, keeping the relation between the notes, and then with the left arrow key, I just pushed it. So this way, the first note is exactly on the grid, but not the other ones. So now we're starting to hear the actual song. But I think I want to try to layer this with another piano sound, because in the original song, the piano is hitting pretty hard. It sounds kind of compressed, you know, and I found this one inside Contact and I played a little bit with some of the parameters, the transients a little bit stronger and some compression. And so now the layer of these two sounds like this. Yeah, like a lot more bite to it. So I like how this is sounding, but I was thinking, how can I make it even more compressed? How can I make it a little bit brighter? I was scrolling here and I saw these plugins from like the Abbey Road collection from Waves. This one is so cool because it can do a bunch of things at the same time. It has an EQ, a compressor, and also the fact that this is from the Abbey Road collection made me click on it because I was like, let's try to keep that disco 70s vibe. Maybe the Abbey Road collection is gonna give me that sound. So when I'm choosing plugins, I'm constantly reminding myself of which kind of song I'm trying to break down. Bright piano, let's see. Okay, so this is a little bit too much, but this one is already much better without it, you know, but with it, oh wow. Okay, so let me fix a couple of things. I think the presence is way too high, also the treble, but I like the way the piano is getting compressed. This piano is probably my favorite element of the song. No, actually my favorite sound of the song are the strings, and we're gonna see them at the end of the video, so stick around for that. And now that we have the chords, we can finally move on to one of the things that's really making this song groove, really making this song move, which is the bass line. I'm gonna start from Trillion. My ears are telling me that they have used maybe like a Fender jazz bass, something like that. This definitely needs a little bit of saturation. Oh, come on. How did I mess this up? Oh, okay, that's what I'm missing. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Yeah, I think I played it actually with a pretty good feeling. And to be honest, guys, initially I was thinking of using Trillion as a placeholder, and then later when we record the guitar, also recording the real bass, but I'm not even sure about it at this point because this sounds so good. It sounds very, very real. Like, I couldn't tell this is not a real bass. And so I'm not sure that I'm gonna re-record the bass. Maybe, we'll see later. Tears run down my thighs, bump, bump. Yeah, poor Sabrina, crying so much that her tears got all the way down to her thighs. Like, can you believe that? Like, that's a lot of crying. So for the verse, I'm just gonna duplicate all the drums, and the only difference here is that the claps are not playing. You only have this very tight snare, and here the bass is super simple. And you've noticed that in this verse, I haven't played the chords with the piano. And the reason why I didn't do that is because the piano is not playing in the verses. Instead, we have some electric pianos playing in the verse. These sound to me like a combination of a Whirly and a Rhodes. You know, I can also hear another layer with a lot of phaser. Exactly. These electric pianos are also playing in the chorus, but remember when I told you earlier that something different was going to happen to the chords when played by different instruments? These electric pianos here in the chorus are not playing exactly these same chords that the piano is playing. So I can't just take this MIDI and drag it down here. You know, these electric pianos are playing these same chords, but in different inversions. So the piano goes from this one to this one to this one. But the electric pianos instead are doing this into this, okay, into this. So you can see the chords are basically the same, but the voicings are different. And actually we have a bunch of additional notes here and there that only the electric pianos are playing and not the pianos, and vice versa. This is such a smart technique, and if you've watched my breakdown of Espresso, the same technique was used there by Julian Bonetta, and that was applied to guitars. We had many guitar parts all playing different voicings, and here kind of the same thing is happening but with the keys this time. And so when you layer instruments, they're not going to sound like the same exact part just layered 7 times on top of each other, but each one is doing its own thing. So when you put them all together, you're like, oh my god, this sounds so big. And not only in terms of like how many layers you're using, but just because you're playing so many notes at the same time and each layer is kind of complementing each other. This is something that I've been doing for a very long time, but if you guys have never done this, you definitely need to try this in your own productions if you really want to elevate them from average to pro. Like, can you hear the difference? And same thing for the other one. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of The Doors for some reason. I don't know. I love all of these little ghost notes. You know, these are so essential. They might sound like they're not doing much, but this is actually what's really bringing you into that pocket. I love this. Oh yeah. And guys, all of the sounds that I'm making for this breakdown, you can get them too, because I just dropped the Remakes Volume 4, the new sample pack that contains all of the sounds from my breakdowns, all of the sounds that I made, including loops and one-shots, the keys, all of the bass sounds, the guitars that I recorded, like every single thing that you see me do in these breakdowns, you can get that. Volume 4 includes the latest 5 songs that I remade: Die With A Smile, Sports Car, Daisies, Jump, and finally Tears. What a pack. These songs are all amazing, produced incredibly, and so I'm sure you're gonna like this. You can get it individually or in bundle if you haven't purchased the other packs. The pack is now on sale at a very special launch price. The link is down in the description. Okay, so we have everything we need to record the guitars, but before we do that, there's one more thing that I want to show you, one more little trick that John Ryan used in this production, and this is so cool, and it's something that really makes this song sound different because it's something that hasn't been done a lot in the recent years. So we're in the verse and we're going towards the second chorus, but I don't know if you've ever noticed, don't you have the feeling like the verse has been cut short? Like you would expect the verse to be 8 bars, you know? The chorus, instead of dropping here at bar 33, is actually dropping here. So like at 32 and a half. And this is absolutely great because it's unexpected. And the first time that I listened to the song, I was okay, chilling, okay, the verse. And in my head, I'm not paying attention to it, but I'm unconsciously counting, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, da da boom. And you're like, what? Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting the chorus to hit that early. This keeps your attention high, and it's something that, you know, we're all striving for in modern music. The listeners have such short attention span that this is an amazing way to really wake them up and be like, hey, wake up. It's the chorus again. And I'm going to give you a little Ableton tip here because now it's not really convenient to have all of these new clips starting between bar 32 and 33. So what you can do is you go here where you have your like locator, right click and insert time signature change. By doing this, bar 32 is going to only be 2 quarters instead of 4 quarters. And so cut everything here. I got the thought of you. Amazing, amazing. So smart. Okay, let's go. Guitars. The technique that we've seen earlier of playing different voicings with different instruments is also applying to the guitars. You may have noticed that I don't have any effects here on the guitar, and that's on purpose because if you really pay attention to the guitar sound, you're gonna notice that's just a DI, you know, there's no amp, the guitar is not distorted, like it's super clean, hardly panned to the left, and that's it. Okay, focus, come on. Oh, come on. That was good. Più è riuscire a farlo mentre registro però. And guys, it always ends up the same way. With me playing, I don't know, how many? What the hell is this? Like, how many did I play? 83? Okay, 83 takes. And after comping them together and adjusting a little bit the timing of some of these, now they sound like this. Yeah! I love this. Woo! Now it's starting to groove, guys. Somebody's calling me. Pronto? Dimmi. No, vabbè, ma adesso mi fermo e faccio da mangiare. No, adesso mi faccio un po' di pasta. If you haven't caught that, I'm Italian, guys, so it's lunchtime. Gotta go cook something, eat, and then I'll finish. All right, I'm full now. I'm back, ready to record the guitars for the verse. yeah. But this is not the only guitar that we have in the verse. We actually have two more. One is basically like a muted guitar going through a wah pedal. And I added a bunch of effects to really nail that wah sound. I started from this preset, and then I also used this guitar rig to basically stack a bunch of wah effects that I'm controlling with this LFO. So to make sure that they're moving, you know, it's like wah, 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 wah. I used this plugin from Waves. This is great on guitars. This is just like some pretty hard compression, you know, and when you put it all together, it sounds like this. And I also used Smooth Operator Pro by Baby Audio, which is basically helping me reducing some of that harshness. You know, when you have a guitar with that many effects, especially like wah, so stuff that's increasing the resonance, that's gonna probably create a lot of like whistles and stuff like that. And so this one is helping reducing some of those, you know. And then here in the second half, we have another guitar, a little bit more distorted. And this is panned to the right instead, creating this nice stereo width. I'm very, very happy about how these guitars are sounding. And to be honest with you, I don't feel the need to re-record the bass, because this bass, even though it's VST, it sounds just amazing. And it sounds very, very close to the original one. So, you know, I'm all for whatever sounds best. And I'm not sure that recording the real bass will get me to such a good result. First of all, because I'm not an incredible bass player. And instead, I think I played it with the right feeling here. So to be honest, I'm happy with this. We're ready for the next big thing, my favorite element of the whole song, the strings. Verse number 2 is exactly the same as verse number 1. So I just copied all the same elements, but here there are the strings making it different from the first verse. You always want to try in your productions, guys, to keep it fresh, you know, to introduce new elements. Try to make your song sound like they're not just a loop and something is always coming in, something's going out. So for the strings, I had to do a little bit of research, because the strings that you hear in the original song are real strings. And unfortunately, I can't play anything. So the best plugin that we can use for making realistic strings is definitely Contact. And I already had a bunch of good libraries, but I had to get one new library. It's definitely a complex plugin to learn and to use at its maximum potential. So first of all, I want to record the parts, and then I'm going to go in the MIDI and in the plugin, really making sure that we make them as realistic as possible. Okay. It almost sounds like 007. It really reminds me of that, you know, James Bond. And if you listen carefully, you're going to notice that this same part is not only played here, but is also played up here. So what I'm thinking here is, let's try to build a quartet. So I'm going to create 4 different tracks of Contact, violins, the cello. I'm going to use like multiple elements and combine them like it's a real orchestra, you know. It's going to take me a while to do this. So let's just skip to the ending result. Okay, listen to this. Oh my God! So good. I absolutely love these strings. It took me a while, yes, but it was absolutely worth it. Going into the chorus, we have these just playing a single note, a bunch of staccatos. So you may have noticed that the sound is incredible, but the timing is not quite right. Sometimes it feels like they're a little bit late. So I just had an idea. Why not bouncing all of these to audio? And then probably I will be able to kind of time stretch it a little bit. For example, this is a little late here. So complex, a little bit earlier. Ooh, that part. Amazing. Oh yeah, I love this. And I noticed that we also have some more staccato here in the last chorus. And that's the same melody that's being played also by that synth lead that we're gonna recreate in a second. And in the last chorus, we also have some additional violins, violas, and cellos playing a different part to make the harmony even richer. So now if I just mute the drums for a second, listen to the harmony. That's just amazing. Amazing. And since we have so many layers here, I added a compressor to really glue them all together. Some Abbey Road J37 tape. Again, I want to give it that really raw analog feeling, and then just a little bit of reverb, you know, with this FabFilter Pro R. All right, guys, so at this point, the session is a complete mess. I really need to reorganize it a little bit and probably mix some of these elements a little bit better. And then we're gonna add some final layers and take care of the drum bus processing. Let's go. All right, guys, now the session looks way cleaner. And while I was organizing the song, I actually mixed a few of these elements a little bit better. On the bass, for example, I added a little bit of compression, again, using this compressor, which I really, really like. I just wanted the bass to feel a little bit more consistent, you know? And I noticed that it was missing a little bit of that low end. And guys, if you want to learn how I make my songs sound this good in just a few hours of work, just know that I have a mixing and mastering class specifically for producers that are trying to make their songs sound like finished products and not just demos. If you want to check it out, the link is down in the description. I fixed all of these fills before the hooks. So by adding also a crash here, this little floor tom cowbell, pretty cool. We're still missing a couple of things. There's definitely a Moog bass that's just being used here and there to add some ear candy, more resonance. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then here, let me hear it. Yeah. And now it's time for that other lead sound that I suspect it's still coming from the Moog. Whew. We just need some reverb, delay. Yeah, so much better. And guys, these are not like random things that John Ryan was like, okay, just let me play random stuff here and there. No, like these are counter melodies. And this is another one of these techniques that you guys should really be using more in your music. This is actually stuff that you can sing. Like it's not only the melodies, not only what Sabrina's singing, but also when you're listening to the song, I mean, you wanna bum 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 bum. You also wanna sing that, you know? Bum, 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 bum. And also, it's not a coincidence that these are placed exactly where she's not singing. I get wet at the thought of you. Bum, 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 bum. You know, as soon as she stops singing, oh, you have another melody coming in. Responsible guy. So smart. And then we have the flute solo that I'm not even sure you have noticed, because this is playing the same exact melody that she's singing in the ad-libs. Yeah. And now guys, last but not least, the drum bus processing. We want drums that still sound real and like played back in the day, so we don't want something extremely aggressive. I don't want to use the usual compressor that I use every single time. Why don't we try this one? Again, from the Abbey Road collection, which is something that I'm enjoying for this song. That's the kind of compression that I want. I want the compression to be bouncing, you know? So not too much. This is like 5 dB, so maybe even a little less. I'm actually hearing it a little bit too aggressive. Why don't we reduce the mix and put it in parallel? I think that's much better. Without it, like the kick is really prominent. The snare, the claps are all over the place. But now, oh, listen to the snare, like super tight. I love this. A little bit of saturation after I compress, you know? Some of this boxiness, maybe reduce it a little bit. I wanted to add some clipping. I just tried a bunch of clippers, but I'm not really happy. So I'm thinking maybe of trying my own drum bus rack. When I made this rack, initially I was thinking of something that could like replace the full processing for the drum bus so that you could do everything in here, and you of course can. But in this case, I want to try to just add a touch of clipping, maybe some saturation. Let's see, because we actually don't have tape saturation, so maybe, oh, I love the sound of this tape saturation, especially on the kick. This is without, and this is with. really subtle, but now I can feel the drums. Oh yeah. Like, listen to the drums now when we go into the verse. Like, here we only have the snare, but it's super tight. I love it. Oh my god, these strings. Woo! Let's go. I love this. I love this. I think we got it, guys. That's it. We got it. We made it, guys. We got to the end. I told you this was not gonna be an easy production. Whether you make music or you watch me break this down just for fun, I really hope that you enjoy this, and I hope that you guys have learned something new today, because I think there is so much value in this video, so many little techniques that you can bring to your own songs. If you still haven't subscribed to the channel, guys, please click subscribe right now. It's completely free. Drop a like on the video, and if you have any questions or requests for future breakdowns, leave a comment down below. Let me know which song you want me to break down next. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.